Several thousand years ago, the Greek stories of ancient gods and goddesses were told from one generation to the other, and the same stories are still being told today to the current and future generations, keeping them immortal. Welcome to the History Reports channel.
Goddess Nemesis was one of the 6 children of the primordial goddess Night, also known as Nyx. There are different translations for Nemesis. However, in ancient Greek, it means to give what is due, while it can also mean righteous anger that is directed against those who violated order, especially the order of nature, and have disregarded nature's law and norm. She had wings, at least in later portrayals of her. According to the ancient poet Hesiod, Nemesis and her close companion Ados, the goddess of shame, had forsaken the mankind. It is also said that she was dealing with perpetrators and evildoers, especially with mortals who disrespected gods and thought to be above them. One of the ancient legends talks about Nemesis harshly punishing Narcissus for rejecting a charming nymph called Echo. Narcissus was known to be particularly handsome, but also very smug. He especially loathed those who loved him. The legend says that Nemesis was outraged by his smugness and concocted a plan to lure him to a river where he could see the reflection of himself. When he came to the river, he immediately fell in love with the reflection that he saw, unaware that he was actually looking at himself. He could not part from this image for a long time, and eventually died of starvation. The first flower, bearing his name, sprang up at the place where he died. Nemesis thought that Narcissus was given beauty in vain, that he was not worthy of it, and she punished him with death. It is said that when Zeus initially romantically pursued Nemesis, he had no intention of fathering children who would bring into the world beauty, order, and memory, which were the gifts of multiple goddesses called the Charites, or Graces, who were known for their charm and beauty. The legend goes on to say that Nemesis fled from Zeus. She didn't wish to get involved with the king of the gods, the son of Kronos. He was all-powerful and had too many love affairs. Nowadays he would be probably branded as a womanizer. Nemesis was tormented by shame and righteous anger. She fled over firm land and through the Black Sea. Zeus pursued her and sought to catch her. In the sea she turned herself into a fish, determined not to let her get away. Zeus disturbed all the waters behind her, as far as the oceans, and to the edge of earth reached. When she reached the land, Nemesis turned herself into various different creatures in order to elude Zeus. Finally, she turned into a goose. Zeus assumed the shape of a swan and coupled with her. Later, she bore the egg from which sprang their beautiful daughter Helena, who brought disaster to mankind by being the cause of the Trojan War. One legend says that egg had a blue color of hyacinth, and Leda, the wife of King Tyndareus of Sparta, found it. Another story says that a herdsman found it in a wood or marsh, and then brought it to Leda. And the third story says that god Hermes threw it into Leda's lap, and she hid it in a chest until Helena was born from it. Regardless, Leda is not the Greek name. In Asia Minor, amongst Lucians, Leda meant a woman. Perhaps Zeus celebrated the swan marriage with a goddess who was the world's first female being, and could therefore be called simply Leda, the woman. Thus, Leda and Nemesis are the same mythological character. This is why Leda is sometimes mentioned as the mother of Helen of Troy and her twin sister Clytemnestra. And at times, some sources refer to Nemesis as their mother. Also, twins Castor and Pollux are sometimes said to be Leda's sons, while other sources say that Nemesis was their mother. It was said that under the summit of Taygetos, Zeus fathered twins with Nemesis. These twin brothers were later known as Castor and Polydeuces, who rescued many men. especially in battle and at sea. In a story perpetuated by the vase paintings, they were already two handsome horsemen when their mother bore an egg. The family wished to sacrifice it to the gods and laid it on the altar, whereupon the child Helena sprang from the egg. There are also tales of twin eggs, from one of which Dioscoroi came into world, and from the other Helena, and perhaps also as Helena's twin sister Clytemnestra, who became known for murdering her husband Agamemnon and for being killed by her own children in revenge for their father's murder. There is also a stucco of Helena and her brothers springing from a single egg. The brothers were the subject of many stories. One of them says Polydeuces was immortal and Castor was mortal. When the time came for Castor to die, his brother did not wish to be parted from him. Therefore, they always spent one day up above with their father. Such tales, however, lead us into the fields of heroic saga, as do the love stories in which Zeus is romantically involved with mortal women. Much later, Herodotus and Pindar would describe Nemesis as a lethal goddess, the type of divine deity who handled the affairs for mortals, restoring equilibrium whenever it had been disrupted. She would proportion happiness, poverty, pleasure, sadness, and suffering. She would then visit those who were gifted with excessive prosperity and fortune, inflicting them with losses and agony. This way, she ensured that everyone was humble and that no one felt too comfortable in their riches. Although Nemesis is the eternal myth, the archaeological remains of one of her glorious temples sit in the region of Attica, about 55 kilometers northeast of Athens. The remains of the second temple were found in the ruins of an ancient theater in Mytilene. Perhaps abandoned and neglected by later generations, the temple resurfaced as a witness to tell the story about those who built it to honor this mythical goddess.